Well, hello to you and a very happy Friday to you, TGIF. We have made it to the weekend. I am Steve Hook. Welcome to the Right Hook. Right out of the gate, I want to say I apologize for the absence last week. We had some technical issues, plus I had some other stuff going on. So we said, you know what, we'll just take the week. We come back the following week and we'll feel much better about it and really be ready to go every week going forward. And of course, that means next Wednesday at 4 p.m., we'll be back here on the Right Hook. And then again, Friday, we'll be back on the Right Hook as well. And of course, being as it is Friday, I'm very happy to welcome my guest host for the day, the inimitable Michael Lauber from co-host of The Insurrection with his buddy Derek Evans and my buddy too. Good to have you, Michael. How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm glad it's Friday. It's been a very long, busy week with, a lot of historical events that nobody asked for.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of events going on. We have a new pope. We've got new hope because we've got the UK deal signed. Could be the first big trade agreement inked that could lead to the domino effect. And then, of course, we've got the same old leftist dopes on the other side that are just losing their mind over everything and once again projecting as they do. Here's our new pope now. He is a Chicago White Sox fan because he is from Chicago. Robert Prevost is no more. He is now Pope Leo the 13th or 14th rather. And I'm not Catholic, so if I screw any of this up, I'm sure my Catholic friends will let me know about it. But I tell you what, Michael, I remember when we found out yesterday that it was an American, I think everybody, at least every American, regardless of their faith, was just a little bit pumped about that. Yeah, an American Pope. And then, of course, everybody starts digging into this guy's past and who is he and what is he all about? And everybody starts saying, well, wait a minute, he's super, super woke. I would advise people to be, but I'd advise people to be careful about taking that line with Pope Leo the 14th. And here's why. What he is, quote unquote, woke about are the same things that almost every pope, including the vaunted John Paul Jones II, who is, as far as I'm, or Pope John Paul II, John Paul Jones. Can you tell I'm not a Catholic, Michael? Pope John Paul II, rather, he was also adamant about helping the poor and the immigrants. The difference was that he was also very much in favor of self-determination and liberty, essentially, and individual liberty. And he made it a point to always talk about that. And of course, that makes perfect sense given the fact that he was from Poland. And this is back in the waning days of the Cold War, of course, and Poland and the Soviet Union. So he had a very human way of approaching individual liberty. But if all these people that are saying, oh, yeah, this new pope is so woke. Oh, yeah. Well, why don't you ask him what his thoughts are on abortion? Not so woke anymore, is he? Or why don't you ask his opinion on gay marriage? Whoops, guess what? He's spoken out against it numerous times. He's not so woke on that issue. You know what else he's spoken out on, Michael, that is very unwoke to the left crowd? He despises the trans agenda. He is not a fan of it at all, and he has spoken out against that. So whenever you get a new pope, and this time I am proud that it's an American, I'll be honest, I am, you're always going to find something you love about him and something you hate about him. And both sides will always be able to do that, and I'm fine with that. We'll see. I wish him the best in his papacy. We'll see how it goes from here. What are your thoughts on the new pope?
Well, I'll wish him the best, but unfortunately prepare for the worst. I was born and raised Catholic, and Pope John Paul, there may have been some things that would be kind of out of alignment with things where they are today, but he was a staunch anti-communist.
Yes.
He did a lot to help free Poland. But yeah, this new pope, the minute I heard as an American, I knew we were going to have problems because I knew they wouldn't pick somebody that was like a real conservative that would get the Catholic Church back on track. And I'm not so sure with, so one of the things he said is that he's in line with where Pope Francis was on the synodality, and that is a lot of the bringing the gayness, the Martin crowd into the fold with the Catholic Church, and that's a major problem. Now, like, and again, you point out like helping the poor when Pope John Paul. Like, I don't think anybody has a problem with that, but the cross-border nonsense, the illegal immigrant invasion,
Yeah.
his gestures out to reach out to Islam and everything else. Unfortunately, I think this guy's going to follow in that same path. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but yeah,
Well, I would only say this about the and it was Francis. Let's always we got to separate. Pope Francis is dead.
yeah,
This is Pope Leo the 14th. Uh, a couple of things that I noticed. Again, not a Catholic here, so I speak from a Protestant's viewpoint, but also an American. Um, Pope John Paul II was an avowed hater of communism. Again, look where he's from, though, Poland. So it makes sense. Uh, Pope Leo the 14th, on the other hand, spent most of his career within the church working where? In Peru. So he might have a different take on the immigration policy, even though it's kind of in line with where Pope John Paul II was. In one hand, you bring up a good point, and that is he thinks you should just take them in no matter what. I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that just to see where it plays out, as I said, because Francis is gone now. And he also did wear the very conservative vestiges that Francis eschewed when he became Pope. He wore the red cape.
yeah, the traditional.
He wore the sash. And you'll recall that Pope Francis, when he became Pope, he just came out in a white coat and he was trying to play the, oh, I'm an every man kind of guy. And it looks like Leo the 14th is saying, no, we're going to get back to the traditions of the papacy. They go back, well, hell, all the way back to Peter, I guess, if you really want to get down to it. But it's not like the Pope has never been corrupt. Good God, you go back about 1,000 years and they were as corrupt as they could get. But this guy, by everybody that I've seen, from his brother to everybody that's known him, they say the man is an incredibly compassionate, loving guy, and he gets along with pretty much everybody who meets him. It's gonna, you know what I can't wait for, man, is him meeting Trump and them actually talking. Because Trump had some nice things to say about him on Truth Social,
Yeah.
and and Trump tends to win people over when they least expect it. Bill Maher comes to mind, and I'm not comparing the Pope to Bill Maher. Don't get me wrong.
No, totally separate sides of the planet.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting. Let me just ask you this, though: as a Catholic, were you at least a little bit proud that it was an American?
No. No, no, because the Americans that I would have wanted seen in that position, Pope Francis demoted, removed, Vigano and the others. So I kind of figured, yeah, Strickland, yeah, but basically when they picked a new pope as fast as they did, I knew it wasn't going to be a good choice. Now, if they would have held out for a little while and there was like real negotiating going on behind the scene, then I would have held out a little bit more hope. But I'll be honest, I'm not real impressed or enthusiastic about this decision. I'll hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Well, I'm always hesitant to, again, and this is probably because I'm not a Catholic, so I don't want to just, I don't want all my Catholic buddies and acquaintances to jump down my throat about this. I would only say that we're going to have to wait and see how he plays it, because there's certain things that he believes in that I'm completely. You mentioned, he was bowing to Islam. Now, you were speaking about Francis there, and I understand that. I don't think this Pope is going to be quite as friendly to Islam, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess really the biggest concern that I have is he's already said that he's in favor of this conference, this synodality that Pope Francis putting together, and that is a lot of this reaching out to the James Martin types. And that he wanted to continue that. I mean, that's really one of the major downfalls within the Catholic Church right now, is this reaching out to with the LGBTQ agenda and all that. And if he really is on board with all that, then that's a major problem. And that's why we've seen people leaving the Catholic Church, other than the traditional, the more traditional elements within the Catholic Church. That's why they're continuing to grow where the rest of the church shrinks, because it doesn't really stand for anything anymore. So hopefully he can reverse that.
Yeah, it does seem that the Catholic Church is growing in a lot of countries, and it's not growing as fast here in the United States as it once did. Of course, we had a lot of problems, sex scandal problems and stuff going back that happened. Well, they happened all over the world, but they happened in larger number and more frequency here in the U.S. So I think that Catholic Church has kind of taken it on the chin for a while. And maybe this guy, by wearing the traditional vestiges, by taking the name Leo the 14th, is trying to be, I've heard some people say, oh, he's trying to be a bridge pope. Well, if he's a bridge pope, a bridge to what? I mean, he's young. He's going to be
Yeah.
around for a long time. It's going to be a long bridge.
Yeah, I mean, and again, hopefully they're right and I'm wrong. But I guess when I'm looking at this guy and where the church is, the fact that over 100 of the cardinals that were voting were appointed by Francis, meaning they're in line.
80%. Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, and 3 conservatives that were eligible to vote were apparently basically sent a message not to show up. They all said they were sick at the last minute and they couldn't attend. So
Well, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm just not particularly hopeful.
I think if we're gonna cut the baby in half, we're gonna have to look at it this way. At least he's not Francis, and
that's an improvement. Hopefully,
Godspeed to Francis. I'm sure he was a great man, but he certainly.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, again, I'm not Catholic, Michael, so you'll bear with
Yeah.
me. But we'll see how this plays out. Okay, and now on another subject, we have New Hope, a huge UK deal inked. And of course, some people on the right are kvetching about this and saying, well, it doesn't do anything. The UK is still being overrun by Islam and
that's their problem, not ours.
Exactly what I was about to say. Trump pointed that out yesterday when he made this announcement. He goes, look, this was about trade. If the folks in the UK are sick of the fact that their immigration policy is basically destroying everything that it ever meant to be British, which it is, and Ireland is flooded with it too.
Yeah.
If that is happening, then it's incumbent upon the British citizens and the Irish citizens, for that matter, to rise up. I know that a lot of Brits, and I know several here that live in Jersey that are expats, and they all say, "Man, Keir Starmer is despised over there." By a huge chunk of people, and they're going to have to do that on their own. But as far as the actual trade policy, here, bravo! It's going to be great for our farmers. And as I said in the beginning, this could end up being the first domino. I mean, imagine if all of a sudden every week we're getting a new country. This week it was England. Maybe next week it'll be Korea, or maybe it'll be India, or well, who knows what's going on with India right now. But we know that they're all working. They're working a lot of new trade negotiations, and they're starting to fall into place. And England, the UK was a big one.
Yes. Well, I think this is going to be, we got an incredible deal out of this. So we're going to continue to tariff products out of the UK at 10%, raising $12 billion per year in U.S. capital that can be used to offset our federal income tax. And they're only going to have a 1.5% tariff on U.S. goods going into the UK. And there's a number of other terms that were set to this deal. They're making a bunch of purchases within the U.S. For their airlines, other industries, and then Rolls-Royce, we're going to allow them to sell aircraft engines to the U.S. tariff-free. So I mean, this is a great deal for everybody. We win all the way around. And I think this is, like you said, this is going to be the first step. We're going to see many more of these coming out. And I think a lot of these deals are going to also include continued tariffs on Chinese goods for those other countries that we are partnering with, because that's been something else that's been floated around. And really, because like that's the main target here is China, is eliminating this crushing way that they've done business with the whole rest of the world, using slave labor, stealing intellectual property, and everything else. And like, China is not in good shape right now. They've got riots now going on in several of their provinces, especially up along the border with Mongolia and some of these towns that they popped up, put a few slave factories in. And many of them, they haven't paid people in months. Even going prior to Trump even being elected, they were already having problems and not being able to meet payroll. And now it's only getting worse. So this is what we need to do. We need to keep maximum pressure up on China. But yes, this deal is going to be good for the U.S., good for the UK, and I'm glad we got this hammered out. And there should be many more good ones to come.
I agree completely. I think there will be many more good ones to come, and I think the markets are going to respond accordingly. People are saying, oh, well, we shouldn't always focus on the markets, and I certainly don't. But I do know that everybody that's got a 401k or has got some investment accounts and they're thinking about retirement around the corner, they're sweating the markets. And this, of course, is why Trump is so unbelievably PO'd at Jerome Powell over at the Fed, because he's the
Yes.
only one that seems to be dragging his feet on lowering interest rates, even though everybody else around the Western Hemisphere has done, well, frankly, around the world has done that. Um, and that, that's gives the market jitters. But I think that yesterday there was a little, woo, everybody was kind of like, okay, great, UK is inked, and now we move on. We'll dive into all of this stuff as we go during the course of the show, Michael. But let's talk about the same old dopes, which, of course, are not just the left. And we could talk about the
Yes.
left. Gosh knows, did you see Biden on The View?
Yeah. Biden's corpse that they drug onto stage. What the hell was that on his hand?
I don't know what it was on his hand, to be honest with you, but it could have been a bandage from Jill always squeezing it and telling him to do the right thing. Oh, look over here, look over there. I mean, the guy is, I don't know. The Democrats inside the Beltway and outside the Beltway have got to be thinking, when will this man just die? They do not. I mean, I don't mean to sound mean, but he is a political anchor. He is a millstone around the neck of the Democrat Party right now. And probably the only bigger and heavier millstone than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. And of course, so they're a party completely rudderless right now. Jasmine Crockett ain't going to cut it. AOC ain't going to cut it. Bernie ain't going to cut it. Especially with the normies, as you and Derek like to call them. I mean, they're just, there's nothing inspiring there. But we've got our own problems, Michael, on our side. Look at Tom Tillis, man. Somebody going to primary this SOB? Tom Tillis is an absolute disgrace for what he did to Ed Martin in the D.C. Federal prosecutor role. That's where Trump wanted him. He was going to appoint him there, and then Tom Tillis says, "I'm not going to vote for him." In fact, I've got a great clip here, and Ned Ryan, I like him because he's so full of piss and vinegar, and he's just a funny guy to listen to. He was on the Jesse Jesse Kelly. He was on the Jesse Kelly show a couple of days ago. I think it was the day before yesterday. And on this specific clip, he's talking about just exactly what Tom Tillis did and how this is going to play out. Can we play that cut one? Ned Ryan on the Jesse Kelly show. Go.
What is it about Ed Martin and the role he's supposed to fill? What is it? It's not January 6th. None of these dorks actually care about that. It's got to be something else. Joining me now, Ned Ryan. He is the executive producer of a documentary I hope you've already watched, American Leviathan. It's free. It's freaking free. It's amazing. American Leviathan, highly recommended. Ned, what's Tom Tillis' problem with Ed Martin?
Besides the fact he's a weak puke. This to me is one of the things, Jesse, I know you've been doing this a lot on X. I fully agree with you that it's really time for the red states to upgrade a lot of these senators in the primaries next year, whether it's Tom Tillis in North Carolina. It's too bad that we don't have another shot at a primary until 2030 with James Langford, but we do have a shot at Cassidy in Louisiana. We've obviously got a shot at Cornyn in Texas. I would argue Lindsey Graham in South Carolina and Joni Ernst should also be considerations for primaries in 26, because this is the part that disgusts me the most. Donald Trump won in November. Because of Donald Trump, I truly believe this, Republicans have majorities in both the House and the Senate. Donald Trump won. He won the presidency against all the odds in what I consider one of the greatest political comebacks ever, Jesse. He won. He gets his nominees. I don't care if you dislike his nominees, hate his nominees, don't think his nominees are the best. Guess who won? Donald Trump. Donald Trump has put up Ed Martin to be the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. He is the acting attorney at this moment. The term expires on May 19th. Why does Tom Tillis hate Ed Martin so much? And let me explain a little bit what the problem is. There are 23 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, 12 Republicans, 11 Democrats. If Tom Tillis decides to go through with not voting for Ed Martin, he will not make it out of committee and get to the floor of the Senate for a vote. I mean, this to me is one of those things where vote him out of judiciary, get it to a floor vote. And I actually think what Tom Tillis is doing, Jesse, is probably protecting a handful of other Republicans who really don't want to vote for Ed Martin, and they're making Tom Tillis jump on the grenade. Because I do think they are in some ways worried about Jan 6. I would actually push back a little bit on that, because I do think they don't really want to have a full conversation about the Fed's direction, what actually happened that day. But the other reason, and I think this is really one of those things, the swamp creatures don't really want reform to come to the swamp. And the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, which Ed Martin would be, actually has a lot to do with draining the swamp, reforming the various departments and agencies that I think are deeply corrupt. Jesse, I think they like the status quo. And I think they deeply resent Donald Trump. I think they deeply resent the idea that the swamp should actually be drained. And the role of the U.S. District Attorney for the District of Columbia is a very key role in the draining of the swamp. And I think that's one of the reasons they're fighting Ed Martin.
There you go. So and he's exactly right on everything he says there. The thing that I picked up on was that Tom Tillis he drew the short lot there, and they said, "Hey, you fall on the grenade," because I have no doubt, because I know it to be true. There are some Republicans inside the Beltway, in the Congress, in the Senate, whatever, that are going to fight tooth and nail against Trump. Most of them in the Senate side, it should be pointed out, but certainly some in the House side as well. But Tom Tillis wouldn't even cast a yay vote to get it out for a floor vote.
Yeah.
What do you think the odds of Tom Tillis being senator in 2 years from now are now after this?
Well, that's a good question. I'll have to look a little more closely at what the makeup of his district is there. But I'd say not good, because there's a lot of people out there that have pledged to put money down, big money down on any Republicans specifically that are blocking Trump's nominees. But yeah, you're exactly right, and so was Kelly's guest there. That I think Tillis was the one that drew the short straw and was told to go out and be the stone wall here, because obviously we already know, Cocaine Mitch, he's going to do the same. Lisa Murkowski, we know where a lot of the other rhinos stand. But they needed to peel off somebody else from the cabal. So this is your deep state insider. I mean, he even said he would support Ed Martin for any other position that Trump nominated him for, but not here in D.C. Can't rock the boat there. But I think they might have bitten off more than they can chew, because now he's going to be at the DOJ under Bondi, specifically investigating obstruction and illegal activity from Biden's deep state. So... And now they're going to have to deal with Judge Jeanine Pirro. That's not exactly a big improvement for them. And again, she has the media savvy too. And I think that's what people forget. She's going to be able to go out there and really make the case. And she is very shrewd. She is very perceptive. And I don't know how they'll back out of not having a hearing for her with as much support as she's going to get, especially considering they already blocked Trump's earlier nominee.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think she has a snowball's chance of hell of getting a floor vote either. But here's the key. And you touch on a little bit. She's very media savvy, which is why they make fun of her, by the way, because she was on Fox News. Of course, they all love their media figures. They all love George Stephanopoulos. They all love Jen Psaki. They all love all of these talking heads that used to work for Dem administrations.
Yes.
But Fox News, Trump picked her. Listen, she was a district attorney for Westchester County, New York. She was a judge in New York.
Yes.
She has a strong track record of cracking down. She's basically a hangman's judge when it comes to dealing with sex offenders. So she is absolutely a judicial hawk. And you're right about one thing, Michael. They're going to hate her in this role. And now you've got Ed Martin, who is going to be in a newly amorphous role of investigating the weaponization of government agencies. So
yes.
he potentially will have more power now than he could have had in this DC prosecuting role. And now Judge Jeanine, and think about this, she can only stay in the office, as an interim for, I think it's like 100, just under 200 days. It's like 170, 180.
Yeah, it's either 120 or 180. I can't quite remember now.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just over 100, but not more than 200. And so they're going to have to come up with something else. If I were Trump, what I would do is I would make a list of about 10 or 12 interim possibilities, all of them keeping notes with the current interim prosecutor.
Yes.
And then just pick it. It's like a tag team in WWE. Just, okay, tag it your time. But who knows how it's going to play out. But Tom Tillis, that guy, he's got to go. Murkowski has to go. Susan Collins has to go. Mitch McConnell has been gone for a long time, but we'll see if he sticks around. I mean, Langford, of course, he's not up next time around, but there's a bunch of them that need to go. And Tom Tillis is just put himself in the front of the line.
Agreed. Well, I heard, I was listening last night to to another podcast, and they had an interesting suggestion that apparently there is nowhere in the law that allows Trump to appoint someone as an interim for a position. There's nothing that preventing him from just rotating back and forth between two people. So we could have Judge Jeanine Pirro in there for 120 days or whatever it is, then swap back to Ed Martin or vice versa. I heard somebody else this morning mention this, that they could also just make Ed Martin a special prosecutor and assign him the same duties, and that way it'll be even easier for him to conduct his job without nearly the amount of oversight that they won't be able to interfere with his investigation nearly as much as he's a special prosecutor. Maybe that's the route to go too. I go back and forth on whether I think they'd give Judge Jeanine Pirro a vote, but I think she's going to be out there making the case for herself while she's doing her duties. But again, she has that media savvy, and especially she starts talking about some of what she's uncovered in vague terms. And I like that you said she was the hangman's judge for sex offenders. That ought to really have everybody in D.C. shaken to their core right now.
Yeah, especially given what Pam Bondi said about the Epstein tapes a couple days ago, saying there's tens of thousands of videos. There's a lot of people, and you see, this is the thing, though. That kind of brings up the point, though, doesn't it, Michael? There's, people, and I get it. I absolutely get the impatience. Why haven't there been frog marches? Why have there been no perp walks? What the hell's going on? I get all that. It's been 4 months, man, and while I'm with you and everybody else who wants to see arrests and wants to start seeing some subpoenas going out, I want to see all of it. I think that there's what's happening behind the scenes is so much more than we're aware of. And God knows that there's a lot of forces allied against Pam Bondi, against Kash Patel, against, Ed Martin, and now Judge Jeanine. And it is not as easy. It's real easy to sit there and post that crap when you're sitting at your computer and you're hitting X or you're hitting your social feeds. It's not as easy when you're inside the Beltway, because it is so bloody corrupt that which of course that's the rub, though, isn't it? That's what makes people want these arrests immediately. But sometimes you're going to get people like Tom Tillis that are saying, I'll take one for the team, in order to save a couple of members of the team that should probably be in prison.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're correct there. But, I do think they're working on stuff behind the scenes. I don't think people are giving them enough credit. People are getting impatient. I mean, I guess this is the way I look at it, that, Kash Patel begged for this position. This is exactly what he wanted to do, was to reform and take down the corruption at the FBI. I don't think he would make that much noise if he didn't intend to do it. Same with Dan Bongino. I don't think he'd walk away from a multi-million-dollar media career and having the top program for live viewers, the top political program for live viewers on Rumble and X, or on Rumble and YouTube, if he didn't intend to actually accomplish something in Washington, D.C. Now, they've gone silent, but a lot of that is because they can't talk about a lot of what's going on with these investigations. So, I mean, I do think we need to have a little grace, give them a little bit of time to complete what they're doing. But yes, I do agree. Like, the question I was asking the other day was, with these 10,000 pedophiles that they've got on video, because it isn't all just Epstein, even though that's the way Bondi made it sound. I mean, I hope it's not just Epstein with 10,000 underage women, but we know there's got to be other perpetrators. Why not start dragging some of them in? As you identify them on tape, that should be enough to at least get that initial charge for them. Arrest them, drag them in, and then continue doing this. Make this just a circus, a parade every week of 30, 40, 50 more pedophiles getting hauled in, charged with crimes.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. And I'd also love to see some people, and this is the reason that Tillis had a problem with Ed Martin and in D.C. is because we'd also love to see some arrest and some perp walks for the people that were involved in the Fedsurrection, as Ned Ryan rightly
Yeah.
pointed out. I have no doubt that there were some real jackasses there that did stupid stuff, but I also have zero doubt, none, that they were encouraged to do it and kind of enticed to do it, and they did it. They fell into the trap. But Tom Tillis and a lot of other people on both sides of the aisle, they don't want the truth of that getting out. God knows they don't want that truth of that getting out. And we'll see how it plays out. Listen, we've got to take a quick break. You're watching The Right Hook with me, Steve Hook, and my co-host on Fridays, Michael Lauber, right here on X America News or wherever it is you may be watching us. We take a real quick break. We'll come back right after this.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Get on that because there's Mike Lindell, a guy that, speaking of swamp creatures, he's been battling them for a while. They've been coming after him for the longest time. And now he's got these great deals going on. You can get the Giza bed sheets, which I swear by. I didn't know they had pot holders. I might have to get the pot holder. And hey, in honor of our new Pope, why don't you get a MyPillow cross? You can get those as well. You can get all of this great stuff at MyPillow.com or MyStore.com. Remember the promo code HOOK when you call 800-749-7098. That's 800-749-7098. Use the promo code HOOK to get up to an additional 80% savings on some of these great products. So there we go. All right. Well, Michael, it's just go ahead.
I got a good breaking story for you. Jem Psaki loses 53% of her audience. There's fewer people watching her than are watching reruns of TLC's My Strange Addiction, which, for those of you who don't know, is the show about people that, eat paint and do other horrible things.
Yeah, so more people would rather watch people eat paint chips than listen to Jen Psaki. Well, there you go.
No surprise.
MSNBC, man. I just can't believe they haven't sold it off yet.
They're working on it.
I know they're working on it, but who wants to buy that turkey? I mean, good God. First thing I would do is I'd say, okay, everybody on the air staff, we're having a meeting tomorrow. No need to bring an overnight bag. You won't be here long.
Well, whoever buys it could have a hit on their hands. Alex Jones has already said that he would co-host with Rachel Maddow. So
the question is, would Rachel Maddow do it with him? And she'd probably say, I can only work one day a week because the rest of my time I've got to spend doing whatever the hell it is she does. She's always that she takes more time off for someone who gets so few viewers than anybody I know, but that's just me. You know who else got canned from this is a perfect segue, man. You're going to love this. Perfect segue from somebody who just got somebody who got canned from one of the fake news networks. Of course, I'm talking about CNN and Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo gets fired from CNN for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which was faking the whole COVID thing. Remember the emergence, like the butterfly from the cocoon coming up from the basement. Here I am when he was on tape out and about in the town while he was supposedly sequestered into his house. So CNN let him go. And now Chris Cuomo seems to be making a little bit more sense. I still don't trust any member of the Cuomo family as far as I can throw them, but at least Chris Cuomo feels that he has the freedom to kind of, quote unquote, speak truth to power. You know what's been going on here, Michael, and we talked about this off air. John Fetterman has been hit with hit piece after hit piece for the last couple of weeks They are going after John Fetterman. They are questioning his mental acuity. They are questioning whether he's even still on his drugs. Or have you quit your medication? Oh my God! Now today we find out that he melted down in a meeting. None of this stuff was reported about Joe Biden. He was in office for 4 years. We could all see every time he made an appearance, he's walking off the stage, talking to somebody who's not there, shaking the hand of nothing.
Yeah, ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so bizarre. And the media were tight-lipped about this. But boy, ever since Fetterman took the side of Israel, and that's the big bugaboo with the left right now, he took the side of Israel. He said, I support Benjamin Netanyahu in his attempt to get these hostages back. The hostages should be released. And ever since he came out with that and publicly stated that, all of a sudden they're questioning this guy who they had no problems with when he was obviously having issues after the stroke. They said, no, he's fine. He's fine. All of a sudden, he really does seem to be a lot better. But then he made the fatal mistake of meeting with Trump and agreeing with Trump on Israel. So Chris Cuomo is on, what's the name of his network that he's on?
News Nation. Yeah.
News Nation. Let's watch this clip together because Chris Cuomo, believe it or not, gets it right here. Cut 2, go.
Fetterman has been reaching across the aisle too much for them. The senator crushes Hamas in campus protests, which, as we all know, is a pet project of the radical left. He met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, right? That's a huge sin, right? After Trump won the election. And he worked with Republicans on passing the Laken-Riley Act and voted for 10 of Trump's cabinet picks. And now the senator is saying that Trump has keyed in correctly on the most important concern in our country, helping the majority do better when it comes to workers and economic benefits. The Democrats have had it since all of these things, hence the hit piece. Now, Democrats, this is why you lost. You can't cancel everyone who doesn't hate the right and play by your stilted rules of purity. But the bigger mistake here is that they're targeting a Democrat who has it right. Fetterman is trying to work on the issue that is the key to winning the midterms and to the long-term success of our country, addressing the yawning gap between the many who struggle and the outrageously wealthy few.
Yeah. And, the thing is, Cuomo, like a broken clock, is right twice in a day.
Yeah.
Cuomo's right on this. John Fetterman is the only one on the left that I've seen publicly anyway that has come out and said, you better knock this crap off, this pro-Hamas crap on college campuses. You better get behind Trump when he talks about no taxes on tips and no taxes on, you better get behind him on that. Yeah. And the Democrats, especially their base and their voters, hatred is their kryptonite when it comes to Trump. And they can't quit it. They can't let go of it. They're
totally blinded by it.
Yeah, they're blinded by the hatred that they feel in their hearts. They don't not only think he's evil, they know he's evil. And anyone that doesn't know he's evil is evil. And Fetterman's like, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's not true. And now all of a sudden, Fetterman is evil. He's wrong. He's off his meds. I mean,
it's the usual
I don't know
playbook.
What it's going to take. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it's going to take for Democrats other than them just being completely decimated as a party to figure out that maybe, just maybe, it's time to ratchet it back a little. What do you think?
I don't think they're going to learn that lesson. I don't think they are going to ratchet it back. I think if we would have seen them, throw a temper tantrum for a month or two following the election and then actually have some introspection and look at the policies that they're now promoting, because you're exactly right. And Fetterman's exactly right, that Trump can't possibly be wrong on everything, as opposed to what our mainstream media would have you believe, that some of these ideas, this is the thing, like the Democrats have put themselves on the wrong side of a bunch of 80-20, 70-30, and even 90-10 issues, that they're on the losing side, like you said. Some of these things, like bringing back jobs to America, they should be able to get behind. They all knew these same truths that Trump is preaching right now 10 years ago. They knew that China was taking advantage of us on trade, and that was that exporting U.S. manufacturing jobs was a bad idea. They all knew these things. They were saying what Trump was saying a decade or more ago. Whereas today, though, like they just doesn't matter what Trump does, it can't be right. They can't agree with him on anything, and side with Trump, regardless of what it is, or even regardless if he's taking one of their positions. Fetterman, though, is, it's like he had the brain damage and then he woke up an 80s blue dog Democrat, and he's not afraid to buck the party like some of the rest of them are. He's not afraid to speak out, whether it's Israel or a number of other issues that align with not just the Republicans, but with America. That's the way they should be looking at it, but they can't get past their TDS and give Trump credit for anything.
Well, the problem with them that they have is it's twofold. For one, their base is back crap crazy.
Yeah.
But that is self-inflicted because they fan this base on to this hardcore anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-conservative, anti-white Christian male, whatever. Everything that they used to somewhat stand behind and cheer on, they now, because of Trump, I mean, Trump has gotten into their head so hard, it's almost laughable. But because of Trump, they're going to take the polar opposite position, no matter what position it is. That's why a couple of weeks ago we were saying if Trump supported oxygen, they'd all hold their breath. I mean, they're just that silly. Now, speaking of which, and this just happened, I want to read this to you, Michael. So give me a minute, and I'll just we're not going to do the whole thing here, but I'll read some of it. This is just breaking. Democrat Congress members from the state of New Jersey stormed the ICE prison to conduct an oversight visit, while saying that people deserve dignity. 3 members of Congress stormed through the gates of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention Facility in Newark, New Jersey, Friday. That would be just a couple of hours ago, demanding that they be allowed to conduct an oversight visit. Reps Rob Menendez Jr., of course, his old man is looking at a long prison stint. Bonnie Watson Coleman and LaMonica McIver, all New Jersey Democrats, entered the ICE's Delaney Hall detention facility in Newark and were held up inside the first checkpoint. Department of Homeland Security spokesman DHS Tricia McLaughlin told Fox News. She said these members of Congress storming into a detention facility goes beyond bizarre political stunt and puts the safety of our law enforcement agents and detainees at risk. But let me just tell you what some of these people in here. This prison currently holds alleged murderers, MS-13 gang members, known child rapists, and other violent criminal offenders. And this is who Democrats are now patronizing. This is who they are now trying to say, we care about no, they don't. And that's the thing. They don't give a damn about these people.
No. I'm going to take them at their word. That they think these people are more they are fighting for these people more than they're fighting for Americans. We should take them at their word. This is their objective.
Well, it's a good point. But I think individually they don't give a rip about any of them. But I think that as it works to their political advantage, which ironically it doesn't. Yeah. That's the thing, that's the kick in the nuts. It does not help them to take this position, but they knee-jerkingly take it. Why? Because they know that their base, their ever-dwindling, shrinking base, is rabid over this crap, so they just jump on it. Apparently, the Newark mayor has been arrested because of this stunt. As the Newark mayor, I guess, let these congressmen, these are Congress people, state Congress people, I should mention.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just think the whole thing is absolutely, they're living in an upside down world over in the Democrat headquarters these days.
Well, yeah. And, this is yet another example of them making an unforced error. They showed up there yesterday talking about how, they were going to get city inspections, make sure it was properly permitted, and do whatever else they could to interfere with the detention center being there. And they could have made their stand there, but no, they had to go back and get criminally trespassed at the facility. So again, I know that the dinosaur media will paint them as heroes, but I think with all these other stories, the average American voter is going to see right through it. And yeah, their developmentally disabled, blue-haired moonbat base may cheer for this, but that's less than 20% of the country. I mean, their popularity continues to fall. They don't have much room left. They're going to be at negative numbers soon. That it'll be less than no one in the U.S. supports the Democrats. And I guess I'll just have
right. And this is why I was going to say to you, Michael, we used to talk about how long are they going to be wandering the political desert. They might not be. Their party may not survive this. Here's what Alina Habba, who of course was just recently named a federal prosecutor in New Jersey, and she's on this, buddy. She's on this like a dog on a ball. The mayor of this is her. I'm reading directly from her X post. Okay, the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, committed trespass and ignored multiple warnings from Homeland Security investigations to remove himself from an ICE detention center in Newark, New Jersey this afternoon. He willingly chose to disregard the law. That will not stand in this state. He has been taken into custody, and then she puts in all caps, "No one is above the law," using their own words to kind of hit him back. Elena Habba, she's going to be like a little Judge Janine Pirro. She's a bulldog too, and she's going to go after them.
Yeah, I hope they locked him up in the same ICE detention facility as his buddies in MS-13. Maybe he can get to know some of them better while he's in the cell and come out and share their stories, since they're all just, Maryland men, or I guess New Jersey men. New Jersey fathers.
Yeah, New Jersey fathers.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. But my God, Michael, I mean, they are so...
They can't help themselves.
It really is. I'm telling you what, this period of U.S. history is going to be studied. And people are going to look back and say, what in the ever-loving hell were they thinking? It's one. Listen, the book on Trump hasn't been fully written yet. And I'm sure that some historians are going to trash Trump. We know that because a lot of historians lean left. But they're not going to be able to not trash what the Democrats have done in response to Trump. Instead of saying, okay, look, we're not going to use this rhetoric that the president uses. We're going to go about things in this way, in an orderly fashion. They can't do that. They won't do that because they have to match the same level of outrage as the purple moonbats that are tearing up college campuses and crap everywhere.
Well, I can tell you this period of U.S. history isn't just going to be studied by historians and future political science students. It's going to be studied by future psychologists and psychiatrists. And they're going to try to figure out what the hell went wrong and what caused Trump derangement syndrome, and is there any cure? I don't know if you saw, this was last week, so we kind of missed it on this one, unfortunately, but you saw Bill Maher when he had Dr. Phil on, who talked about opening up a clinic to de-radicalize these moonbats. Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody's going to have to do that, because I really, even once Trump's gone, they're just going to find a new target for this hatred, this deranged behavior that they've had. And I don't know, maybe that'll be J.D. Vance, maybe it'll be somebody else, but we see it all come out and we see who they really are. They have no policy positions on anything. Their policy position is, I hate Donald Trump.
That's exactly it. And that's it on everything. Yeah. And they hate everything. And if you support Trump, they hate you, by proxy. It really is very, very odd. And you got to remember all of the look at all the positions that they have actually rallied around. Men and women's sports, men and women's locker rooms and bathrooms.
Yep.
The transgender reassignment surgery for minors, and the parents don't need to know. I mean, all of this stuff that is just so bloody common sense. I mean, It doesn't take a teaspoonful of common sense to realize that if you tell a bunch of parents, hey, if your little boy wants to become a little girl, you have no right to know what we're doing to help your little boy become a little girl behind your back. I mean, what politician from either side thinks that's a good idea? Well, the Democrats do. That's who does. The Democrats do.
Yeah, there's a losing side on any issue right now. They will race to that as quick as they can. Doesn't matter what it is. They want to be on the wrong side of every 80-20, every 70-30, and every 90-10 issue there is. Doesn't matter if you're supporting MS-13 and Tren de Agua. Doesn't matter if you're wanting to trans all the kids or remove parental rights, or like in Colorado and other states, go to war with the Second Amendment. They are on the losing side of every issue right now. And for some reason, these dinosaurs in the media still think that they're going to win the midterms. I hope they fill these people with even more hopium, and then when they get crushed in 2026, that it sends even more of them into the mental institutions.
Make mental institutions great again.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're bringing Alcatraz back for. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that.
All right, listen, let's take another quick break. We don't have much time left, but when we get back on the other side of it, We're going to dive into Tish James. Oh, boy, that ought to be fun. You're
My
watching
favorite.
The Right Hook. I am Steve Hook. He's Michael Lauber. We'll be right back after this.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
There you go. There she is. The wonderful Annie Cyrus, not only a brilliant producer, also a brilliant artist. Go to her website, LUTF Studio. That's liveuptofreedomstudio.com. Don't spell it all out, but that's how you can remember it. LUTFstudio.com. Handmade, faith-inspired, patriotic-inspired, all one-of-a-kind art pieces. You can get a series of coasters. You can get whatever. I mean, she does so much resin work. She does painting. She does glass work. LUTFstudio.com, and you can find out all about it. Remember to use the promo code RightHook. And Annie says, Steve, I'm going to give them a really special discount if they drop that. So RightHook is your promo code, and go check it out and get yourself an Annie original. Okay, Michael. Tish James, this woman. I mean, I never want to get on the level
The
of
gall
hate.
and audacity, yes.
Yeah, hate is a strong, strong emotion. I try to kind of eschew it. I try not to be a member of the hate brigade, but it's very hard not to hate this woman. This woman is such a conniving corruptocrat. She is exactly what you would expect from a crooked politician. She ran on the idea of bringing down Trump. She even said publicly, I will use the law to go after him. Not I will follow the law. I will use the law. There's a big difference there. And so the other day, earlier in the week, she had a town hall in New York, and she was greeted by a whole bunch of sheep that clapped at everything she said, especially, it's kind of like going to a boy band concert. All they have to do is give you a little shimmy or a shake, and the crowd goes nuts. Well, all Tish has to do is say Trump sucks, and the crowd goes nuts. So then she opens it up to Q&A because she assumes that these lemmings are going to all just fawn all over her and say, oh, you're my hero. I burn a candle for you every night, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. But she didn't count on this fella. Cut 3. Go.
My question is for Tish James. Will you apologize to President Trump for wasting millions of dollars and the state of New York for a witch trial? And how does it feel to know that you will be in prison for mortgage fraud?
Thank you for coming.
Oh, man.
We want to.
I love that. I just, and the thing is, I don't know if you caught this. He didn't call her Tish James. He called her Tush James. As if, which is AKA lard ass James.
Sounds
hey,
about
Tush
right.
James. How's it? You're going to go to prison for mortgage fraud. Now, just that right there is wonderful because she's the clown that and that judge, whatever the hell his name was, that clownish judge.
Oh, what's his name? Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Yeah. Well, she's the one that said that Mar-a-Lago is worth roughly $18 million, which is just a complete.
Yeah, 2 spaces
joke.
in the parking lot are probably worth $18 million.
I know it. I mean, even Joe Rogan on his podcast the other day said that said he would buy it today if it was on sale for $18 million. It's worth 3 times that, if not more. So she may be going down for mortgage fraud because, of course, now we know that she She called her father her husband. She did all kinds of crazy, wacky things to buy properties, including investment properties.
Yeah.
And so what they rewrote laws in New York City just to get Trump on this, which is why they can say, oh, now he's a convicted felon because of the. It's just nonsense. But
Well,
that
and even that felony conviction is going to get overturned on appeal when he
of
finally
course
gets
it
it.
will be.
Well, because I mean, they took a law, misapplied it, and then let the jury invent imaginary felonies to then convict him on. But yeah, she's full of in front of a crowd full of clapping seals. She thinks they're just going to go along with her, support her. But she's guilty of multiple counts of mortgage fraud, insurance fraud, numerous other crimes, defrauding the state and people of New York. Saying her primary residence was in at one of these other homes and not within New York City, she has to have residence within the city for her position. But again, she's one of these people that thinks the law doesn't apply to her, but they're going to enforce it to the T and even go beyond the scope of the law to go after President Trump or somebody on the right.
And not only that, Michael, but rewrite laws and create new laws. It's a shame, but it is funny to see. That's speaking of truth to power. That's genuinely it. And that dude was not afraid of anybody in that room. You saw him turn the camera around, and it didn't look like any of those little gammas and betas in that room were ready to stand up to him.
No,
but
of course
there you
not.
go. I just thought it was a funny way to wrap the show up with Tish James, and I can't wait to see her in an orange jumpsuit because I
wonder if they'll have one big enough for her fat ass.
I don't know. Maybe they can just give her an orange moo or something.
Yeah, an orange tent.
An orange tent with a hole cut in the top. I don't know. But listen, that's going to do it for us today. I appreciate you watching The Right Hook. I remind you, we're here every Wednesday and Friday. I promise, starting next Wednesday, we'll be back once again at 4 p.m. right here on X American News. You can also find us, of course, on Facebook, Rumble, and all the other usual spots. Until then, Michael Lauber, God bless you, brother. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.